you know it's scheduled when you get your scheduling link. If you do not receive your link, you might as well assume it's not scheduled. And it's super simple. We've broken it down. We've reduced the friction. It was not like this in July. Whoever ran Aurora Open in July knows it was not like this. We did not have these things. And even 3 weeks ago when Andy asked for help, it was not disorganized. So we are definitely improving daily, innovating like lunatics. And the step one is the scheduling link. So let me explain to you what that does. The link is there for you to schedule your contestants and your participants. And here's the trick. The trick is do not send the link to them. It's you fill out the link. And let's explain why for whoever might question that. If you send someone the link and they don't do it right away, you are now responsible for following up. And that takes time because people don't answer, people are busy, the dog ran out, et cetera, et cetera. Versus once you get your verbal yes, you click the link, you hit register, you put their first name, last name, email and number, and done. They're officially registered. And what does it mean when they're registered? It means that now they're going to get 3 emails, one 3 days before, another one 24 hours, and another one an hour before. They're also going to get a text message an hour before. On top of that, they're going to get a Google Calendar set up with all the information. So this way, there's no like, I didn't know, I forgot, I didn't see it. No mother effer. That is fake confusion because I know that you saw it. You got a Google Calendar and you got 4 invites. It is not us, it is you. So that is there to support you because a lot of people have had people cancel, has had people like not show up, and we're looking to reduce that friction. And actually, let me pause for a second. Elle, I see your hand is raised. Please share.
Hi, I also like to do it in addition to those reasons myself, is because like if I have one slot for an attorney and I say I have, 1 spot for you, I don't want them signing up and seeing there's 8 spots.
Integrity-based scarcity. So thank you. So that is 100% factual and I agree. And that's what a scheduling looks like. So if it supports, let's do this. If you give me 1 second, Andy, if I can get your permission, can I just drop your link in here so that everyone can see it and they can click it and they can kind of get an idea of what that looks like? Is that okay with you, sir?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. So just give me a quick second. That's open. All right. Here we go. So I'm going to drop this in the chat here once again. Okay. So I just dropped Andy Zapata is a straight up gangster. He does a weekly Real Raw every week. He's completely graduated from Real Raw Opens. So you're going to see that he has like 20 events on his because he's booked them out for the entire year. Yours will not look like that. There will only be 1 event unless you're a lunatic like Andy. And I can already hear Ken Van Loo going, you got no idea who's coming. So let's click that link real quick. And when you click it, first off, let me just get some verification if the link is working. Please let me get a yes in the chat so I can see that Acuity link is working. So whoever's clicked the link, let me just get a yes. Thank you. Thank you, Peter, Liba. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, everyone. Now, if you take a look, you'll see that there's many, many events. September 2nd, September 9th, September 16th, September 23rd. That's because this man is literally doing them weekly. Yours will just be 1. And here are the steps. You click link. Step 2, you click sign up. So everyone click sign up. And don't sign up for Andy's because it's going to mess this whole thing up. So don't do that. But just click the link and then click sign up. And this is it. That's all you got to do. You see name, you see phone, you see email, company, industry, and roll on the show. If you do not have a company or an industry, you could put to be determined. Definitely click roll on show, click complete, and you're done. That's what it looks like. So let's run through that one more time. Confirmed means that at this point, you've talked to Fernando and realized that will not be that way for forever. I will be replacing myself from this role in the very near future. So you will reach out to an unblinded team member and you will schedule your Real Raw. Your Real Raw is not scheduled until you receive your link. This is a way for us to fact check and check and balance each other. Because if we're like, yeah, it's scheduled, and you never get your link, we might have totally forgotten to do it. It's possible, not probable, totally possible. So for your own peace of mind, you're not scheduled unless you have your scheduling link. Once you have your link, this is what the process will look like. You click link, you click register, you sign them up, boom, reminders, Google Cal, everything is good to go. So before I hop into the other links that I'm going to run through, does anyone have any questions on the scheduling portion of this conversation? All right, right on. Joe Hagan has a full notebook full of notes, and that lunatic is still
Fernando.
writing notes. What's up,
Yeah.
Sean?
Hey, Fernando, everybody. Thank you, brother. So, yes, drop me in. I know we've been covering procedural elements. Any questions that have come up so far or no?
No specific questions. We've had a couple shares. The group is engaged. We're getting some chatter in the chat. That's funny. We went through the new link of explanation videos. Everyone clicked it. It works. We explained what the 5 videos are. We also went through the acuity scheduling. I dropped an example of what that looks like, so everyone now knows their RORA Open's not scheduled until they receive their scheduling link. And then we went through the process of what that looks like. We're about to jump in to a few others. Obviously, I would definitely want to kick it over to you, as I know that what's on the agenda today is hot.
Keep sharing. I have a ton, a ton to share. But if there's other people that want to share, let's jump in with them. And by the way, when we say questions, remember what we're doing here. I've been trying to find the right language. It's seeking clarification, right? Question presupposes a lack of understanding. Like clarification is just optimizing mastery. So yeah, what we do on these calls is we create clarification, and there's also a lot of distinctions to share on a macro and micro level. Macro meaning bigger picture, micro meaning specifics and micro distinctions, of course. So Fernando, was there somebody else who wanted to share?
Teresa Pfefferly is seeking clarity. So please unmute and seek away. I like that, seeking clarity. That feels good. Over to you.
Hey, Fernando. So I've used the link before when I've done my RORA Opens. I always just input my people because I know that they're not going to sign up for it if I don't do it for them. But I do have one question. Is it possible to make it so that we can see who we've input? And the reason I ask that is for someone like me who I might input a couple people and then a couple days later I go back and input a couple more people. Then then there's times where I'm emailing staff saying, hey, can you tell me who I've already input in here? Because I'm not sure that I got everybody covered, or I don't want to duplicate it. Is there a way that we can see somewhere what roster we've input?
Love that question. That is definitely a question based on you doing many RORA Opens. So direct answer is that unfortunately at the moment, what you mentioned is the only path. It's currently still manual, where you have to reach out to who used to be Garrett and Ryan. You can now communicate with myself and Lily, and we can give you an active, real-time list. That is going to be changing soon at our version 2. So Chaz, let's take note. An additional one that was brought to our attention by Sean Grosey that's also currently manual is if someone that you registered cancels, it does notify us, but it does not notify you. So that is still currently something that's manually ran. So thank you, Teresa. For now, let's keep doing that. And we're going to work on the version 2, which we'll let you know in real time.
Okay.
I'm on the case, Fernando.
Thank you, Chaz.
Yeah, Chaz, this is Sean. Thank you, Teresa. Yes, and I know we are working on a lot, but creating that transparency, I think, will be extraordinary. And especially what I think would be the next level of transparency. So the entire group of people that are registered can see who else is registered. I think we want to be moving in that direction as well. So it creates a sense of community, and it's an event. And Teresa said something interesting that I want to lean into really hard tonight, right? So let's actually deal with any other clarifications, Fernando. So thank you. Teresa, is there anything else that we can clarify for you?
No, thank you.
Awesome.
Fernando?
Great job today. Great job today, Teresa. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fernando, you're still using Acuity, right?
That is correct. We are using Acuity, Dr. Gamble.
If you set it up as a class
as opposed to setting it up as an appointment, then when it populates in your calendar, you can see all the people who are in the class.
Beautiful.
I like that. Dr. Gamble dropping some wisdom.
That's why she needs to be in this group, man. Dr. Gamble, we need to hear that voice more often. So Chaz, I know that you were working on that. I like what Dr. Gamble says, that they can all see each other on the Google invite. So in front of everyone, brother, we are waiting for your genius. Over to you, Sean, or movement. Is there any other questions that you'd like to ask? Yes, sir.
Any other clarifications?
Any other clarification?
I have
Thank
one.
you,
Yeah, I'll go after the venerable man.
Oh, thank you. So I was called illustrious today and now venerable, so I'm having a really good day.
Good day.
Peter, I called Joe the illustrious Joe Hagan. It's his new name, the illustrious Joe
Well, it's
Hagan.
venerable and illustrious.
Rob Gill is the insufferable, insufferable, unstoppable. Actually, no, he's the ambassador results of formerly insufferable Rob Gill and the illustrious Joe Hagan. Yes, sir.
So, Sean, you had a great point about letting everybody see who else is invited and registered for that Real Raw Open. But to Elle's point before, is there a way to do that once everybody's fully registered? Because if you sign up one or two, then they're going to only see one or two other people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, maybe the switch, we could look at this from what Dr. Gamble's great input.
Correct.
We can maybe switch it over from a calendar to a class at some crossover point.
I think
that could be super valuable.
I think there might be an interim solution. Chaz, were you still on the call?
Yeah, Chaz is here.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm here.
In Acuity, you can set up a BCC email, which I'm sure you're already using to send to Fernando and Lily when somebody registers on something. If you were to set up one email that forwarded to Fernando and Lily and to each person, so you set up so you set up an email for me that BCCs to my real email address and to you, then I would get a copy of the confirmations and the cancellations, and your team will get a copy of the confirmations and cancellations. All you'd have to do is set up an email forward and set up an email address for each person that's doing Real Raw Opens, and you've achieved everything that the team wanted to achieve, but without changing any of your infrastructure at all.
Peter, you are the man. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Peter, you know what I have to say about that? Yeah, what he said.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, same here. Yeah, what he said.
So
what he said.
I do have a question and a concern, but it's not around the logistics, it's around something else. Do you want me to wait or do you want me to do that now?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So my concern is I haven't earned a moniker of insufferable or venerable or for me yet. And I now feel ego and my significance is slighted that I haven't got this kind of a gift from you yet. So that needs to be resolved at some time. My question is, Sean, as you know, I was blessed enough to win this business mastery over the last couple of days. So yes,
I was about to say I didn't have a good short way of saying it, but I was going to acknowledge that in a fun way. But I was trying to think of how to turn that into a nickname, literally. So we are in the same wavelength.
Well, I'm saying it because I like saying it because I like hearing it, but also, and I worked 80 hours for it before that. But more importantly to this conversation, it's brought up a different, I don't want to say a problem, a real opportunity, which is my network of people that now want stages and mics has gone from 2 to 200 in 48 hours. But there's no thematic connection of those people. And on the last call, one of the things you said that I thought was so valuable to when Rob Gill was on the call was that it's about how you put those people together in a way that they're serving each other. And that I don't have that thematic set of people, right? But I've got Lions, Platts, multi-year Platts, podcasters, you name it, that are going, hey, let's do something, let's collaborate, let's get on a stage, let's have a conversation, but they don't fit together. So I was wondering how if we want to talk about that offline, if that we phrase that differently, or if we talk about some kind of way to collaborate between all the Real Raw Opens and say, hey, I've got this person here, that doesn't fit into my sphere, right? There are, I spoke to someone that does e-commerce for Indian pre-packed fast takeaway meals. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And I said, so how much are you doing? She said about 34 million. I went, okay, that's a little bit more interesting. I didn't say that, but that's where my brain went. But she doesn't fit in to my kind of thematic real raws in any way, shape, or form. So I've now got this person sitting here that should be in the unblinded world, but I have no way to deliver that.
Yep. Okay. So, Peter, the genius is one nickname that comes to mind, and unbeatable is another, in light of your undefeated history in the space of business mastery, with a footnote that Kirk Adams, as I said earlier today, is going to be coming as my guest at the next Business Mastery. And I would love to, as you said, it's not about winning. I would love to collaborate and co-create, which I said in the real raw today, in a way to raise money in this 100th anniversary year for the AFB in a beautiful way to change this epidemic of unemployment for the blind. So that's its own footnote story, and hopefully you would participate, and we will see what that brings. And
as long as
it doesn't bring
matches mine, I want $1 million in the next one.
All right.
I
Well, let's
want
go
$1
do
million
it, brother.
raise at the next Business Mastery. Anyway, sorry, come.
Right on.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so awesome, Peter. And thank you for your leadership and energy coming here. Great stuff. Okay, so there's always micro distinctions inside of micro distinctions, right? And so if you have a unique event like you've had, Peter, and this is a very unique event, right? And congratulations, it's extraordinary. So a privileged window has opened.
Yeah.
And my hallucination is that the reason we would say that everybody should be in complementary professions, typically, right? And by the way, if you guys are here, I'm gonna lay out some macro stuff, so please hang in. And everything we're saying about Peter applies to you as well. And if I could drop one piece of, if I could have one wish on every one of the group calls that we have, it would be for people to be able to apply what's being said to one person to themselves. And when I sit, and I'll just share this, for potential growth mindset learning opportunity, and I can get right back to what Peter's asking. When I sit in a Tony Robbins room, I am nonstop taking notes the entire time. And much of what I'm writing often has nothing to do with what he's even specifically talking about. He'll say something and they'll trigger micro distinctions to be implemented in my world. And I'll just start going. I'm listening to him in one ear and I'm taking notes and creating something in the other. So I offer you, and maybe even challenge you, because this is a group that's for real now. Like the people on this line, this is a for real group. I challenge you to not passively listen. I challenge you during these sessions and every group session you're a part of to actively make progress in your world. Don't treat it like it's a TV show. Don't treat it like it's English class in high school. Treat it like this hour is an investment into the building of something related to your money, time, and magic, right? Like invest, write, create. Like Joe Hagan's taking notes all over the place. Like take notes and apply, right? And apply and apply and apply and apply and apply, like everything, right? So I say that. And that if only that came out of our entire relationship and nothing more ever, like that's millions of dollars right there. I promise. Okay. That said, so the rule of thumb is have these be complementary professions that can help each other in similar geographic areas and regions. Okay. And the reason we're saying that is we don't want people to get I don't know, what am I coming on? What is this thing? I don't know who you are. I'm not sure, right? Peter Swain in this situation is not going to be dealing with that dynamic. He's going to be dealing with growth mindset, personal development, consumers at the highest level, looking to grow and accelerate. And Peter, coming off the win of Business Mastery, similar to you, coming off of some very meaningful event in your life where the people like want to do things with you, if you came off stage speaking somewhere, right? It's like, hey, just do this. So Peter, my answer would be, here are the choices. The choices are to engage in a wildly complex analysis of like, who do you put with who out of all of these groups of people to create commonality on the left hand. On the right hand, an alternative is to say the commonality is people that just came off of Business Mastery and want to learn, grow, and develop. And oh, by the way, the superpower of influence and what will go on the Real Raw is an amazing complement to what they just came off of. And it's an amazing way for you to further your relationships with all of them. So if I was coaching you, which is not happening, right? My 2 cents would be, I don't know your schedule. I don't know your world exactly, but I would say schedule 10 people a day on Real Raw Opens that you are facilitating, offering your incredible services and genius, and you're in a situation where you get paid to market if other people end up doing things with Unblinded. And I would schedule these things like crazy, and I would go do it, because everyone is a mini Peter Swain speaking opportunity.
Yep. With
edification, a cool format, and the amount of business, Peter, that you will probably end up with I can't even imagine. Cannot even imagine.
I
you know,
sat and
so
tried to
what
work
do you
out
think?
numbers, and I think in revenue to me, I would, if I don't do 7 figures, I'll be upset. And then obviously the path through to Unblinded. But let me offer you a third choice. You said you had 2 hands, and there's always a secret option C.
Yeah.
So, and I'll tell you what I'll tell you what my plan is first. So I've employed a PR manager today who is going to literally go through all the list of all the people, and I've put in place, Sean, you might have already seen it, a call at 2 p.m. my time, 9 a.m. Eastern, which is a Business Mastery recap and wrap up, because the Tony Robbins teams will let me put that on the pages, the private group pages, because it's thematic and because I won, so I'm able to use the Tony Robbins real estate to advertise that show. And that's 2 people, a man and a woman each time. And it's, who are you? What did you learn? What are you going to apply? Where can people find you? And then my plan is to then do a follow-up call to them and say, hey, thanks so much for coming on today. It's 20 minutes. It's really lighthearted. It's just a bit of fun. There's actually something kind of more interesting that I'd like you to get involved with me on. I don't know if you heard the Real Raw Open, and then bring them into this. So I do 1 a week, and I take 2 people per day into the daily show, and then I wrap them into the Real Raw Open at the end of every week, and then funnel through and then carry on. That's what I'm planning to do. The secret option C is, as you know, I don't have revenue at the front of my mind because that's not the way I work, and maybe I should be a bit more like that. But the secret option C is, I'm just happy to lay it up to the rest of this group and say, I've got an awesome person in this field, this speciality, this area. Can they fit in somewhere better? Can they be better served in somebody else's Real Raw Open than in mine? That's another option. I'm not saying it's valid. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that would be a way to do it as well.
Peter,
But then you lose the point.
I did that just today because I found someone that I didn't feel was going to be benefited by the Real Raw that I'm setting up. And I went to another group that I'm in and I said, does anybody have a need for a contestant? Because they were all healthcare providers. And I knew that this person would benefit from being in that kind of setting. And so somebody in my group said, yeah, I need more contestants. And it was very good for me to be able to pass that person on to them, because I wanted to make sure that the person that I was referring would be able to get the maximum benefit from the Real Raw experience, as opposed to me just having him in my pad, so to speak.
Extraordinary. Well, Dr.
I think what Peter might be talking about is like creating a system to capture everybody, so like everybody can feed into like one giant list, to where, you know, if you needed to fill a real raw and you needed 5 spots, it would be awesome to have access to that list and say, okay, I need 1 accountant, 1 finance person, 1 this, 1 X, send out those emails and then just like rapidly fill it. Like that would be really interesting.
Yeah, I just think that every person's going to have a percentage of what to them is waste. But, and I don't mean that in a derogatory form. I mean, like, this person doesn't add value to me and I can't really add value to them in this format. But to somebody else, this person could be absolutely gold. So I would much rather the community, Unblinded, Sean, Fernando, that person receive that gift than me keep it and waste it.
Awesome.
Peter, listen, and everybody look at what Peter, what's occurring is as you give, right? One of the great, as you give, like your ecosystem equity rises. Like it's a nice thing to do. It's the right thing to do. It makes us feel good. It's all of those things. And your ecosystem equity rises. So just think of like what you heard from Peter and these action steps and Dr. Gamble, right? Like it's a beautiful thing, right? And in addition, what most people make the grave mistake of is holding on to opportunity that they perceive to be opportunity and like not having enough hands, like a kid like picking up toys and dropping and picking up more and dropping 3 and like just trying to keep everything in hoard. It ends up like catastrophically destructively. And so Peter, and this group is not like that, right? I know that. And I'm just acknowledging Peter for that energy. And like, that is the energy of like what we're doing here. And it's awesome. So thank you, Peter. And Peter, you know, listen, we've had some conversations for a while, right? About lots of different things. And if you could just share a little bit, you know, you are you have a tremendous amount of wisdom, genius, and experience and success in the world of marketing and digital, right? What, from your unique, you know, very straightforward perspective, just lands for people, right? Why do you think it is a good idea for people to say yes to coming on a Real Raw Open? Not the person doing it, like these are folks doing it, but if you were communicating with, you know, a lawyer in Bergen County, New Jersey, right? A lawyer at Calgary Law. And if you're, you know, and you're doing work with Calgary Law, right? My firm. And let's say Michael Smikin was invited to go on a Real Raw Open, right? And he's like, hey, Peter, should I go on this thing? What do you think? What would your answer be or your analysis be? So this is like speaking into the people on the line right now who are like, yeah, you know, I'm not sure, like people don't get it, or I'm not, you know, not quite sure if it's the right thing for people. What's your perspective? And I don't think that's a very pervasive perspective. I think it's more how to communicate about it. But what's your perspective if you're coaching Michael Smikin in that moment? What would you coach him to do?
Okay. My immediate answer might not be exact. I think I can serve the purpose behind the question, but I might not answer the question directly. And my answer would be,
okay, good.
Michael, let me give you a scenario that happened in the last week of my life. I wanted to create a daily show around business mastery that was doing a wrap up and recap of the day before, so we could get two awesome people on to say exactly what I just said. Who are you? What did you get from yesterday? What are you going to change about business, and where can people find you? Sure. You remember you were on this, right? So
yes.
I created this, and months before this, I created Hack Mankind, and that one I had to, I wouldn't say bend Sean's arm, but I had to persuade him to give me an hour of his time every week to serve that mission, because there was no money involved. And then by that, me and Sean became closer. So when I reached out to Sean and said, hey, I'd love you to come on this recap show I'm doing around business mastery, it's a little bit of edification. It's not a great deal of audience, but it's around the subject. It serves what you're trying to do with that work. He said, absolutely. I deliberately left the other space open. I didn't book 2 people for the day because I wanted to give Sean the gift of suggesting who else could come on with him. I said, I really looked for a boy and a girl. Who would you recommend comes on with you? And Sean, you recommended Deborah. And Deborah, when I'm then at Business Mastery 24 hours later, is one of the substantial donors to the charity raise I did that allowed me to win Business Mastery and allow me to say in front of 2,600 people, I'm a digital strategist that just won the Digital Business Mastery. Now, if you were to approach that value chain transactionally, it fails at every single step of the transaction chain. I launched this Hack Mankind thing. I spent £30,000 for no value, no return whatsoever. I asked Sean to do it for no real value and return whatsoever. I did the Business Mastery recap show with no specific financial agenda. And you trace that back by showing up with integrity and offering people the opportunity to shine in their brilliance without an expectation of result. And at some point in that equation, money is attracted to you because that's what money does. Money follows energy. Unfortunately, it follows bad energy as well. If that's the way you want to live your life, then I can't help you because I can't play into that space. But money also follows good energy that's led with integrity. And I guess, Sean, I don't know if that answered, but I think it does. At each step of this equation, all I was trying to do was connect amazing people with amazing opportunities in whatever way I could. I didn't know that when I started Hack Mankind, it would result in me being able to get a donation from Deborah Gaylord, which got price matched with the guy Puneet Chandak from Spice Affair, because I went to the Tony Robbins Underground Railroad and gave money there, that allowed me to now say, I am 2 for 2 in winning business masteries. So I go up against the 2,600 people that think they're great at business, and I beat them, and I did it twice. And that all comes around because of the virtuosity of frameworks such as the Real War Open. Was that an answer or not?
Yes. And I think my shorthand version of that would be, or actually maybe an alteration of that would be, the reason that none of those steps in the chain were a bust is because your relationship capital, your Peter Swain, your ecosystem value rose extraordinarily, right? And it rose because for many different reasons, but one of them is our relationship. Like our relationship raises every relationship we have. It's a good one, increases our ecosystem value. So my relationship with you has increased my ecosystem value. You had me on your show. You won Business Master. You came on our huddle and talked about it. You had me on that show. You acknowledged me in different ways for my participation. Today on the Real Raw, Mark Siegel came on and acknowledged you beautifully as the leader, and was saying beautiful things.
Yeah.
What, Peter?
Sorry, I said I tuned in and I heard that bit and I was like, oh, that was really quite a pleasing moment. I liked it.
Yeah. And then he's on there saying, saying wonderful things about me. All of those things raise our ecosystem value. And they did lead to a number of direct things, but your leadership and winning business mastery in and of itself, I believe and we will talk about this from here, ethically, value, chain, all those things. I believe that was a $5 million plus event for you. $5 million. Now, it could easily be zero, right? If it's not process mastery, self-mastery, influence mastery go out, but easily a $5 million event, and could be a lot more.
Yep.
So just to support people in the understanding. Each of these calls every week, and so Peter, thank you. Great job. And so each of these calls every week, we are going to get smarter and smarter and smarter. Like our level of mastery is going to continue to rise. Think back, right? Think back to the day we met, right? The day we met, the day you met Unblinded. And think about how you thought then versus how you think now. Like what you didn't know then that you know now. And for many of you, there's an extraordinary differential in how you think about ecosystem merging, speaking, sales, meeting, sales, micro distinctions, four-step and indispensable elements, four energies. And I'm telling you that if this was the progression of life, where you are right now, in the progression of where we're headed, is you're about 10 or 11 years old in terms of your comparative level of wisdom, right, for where we're headed and for actualization. And none of that's meant in a derogatory way. Not everybody's in the same space, right? Different people have different experiences and backgrounds. Peter's been, sharing and teaching and marketing for a long time, but I am quite confident that there's things that Peter is learning here, and there's things I'm learning from Peter, and blah, 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 right? So as we're on these calls, be challenging yourself. Where were you a week ago? Where are you this week? Every week building your acceleration. So quick macro, micro to that point, okay? We talked about it last night in the Thursday night call, and if you're at any level a part of mastery, watch that call if you haven't yet. And if you were on it, watch it again. And watch it at least once a month for the next 3 months. Okay. And you're like, you just say these things, that's crazy. No, it's not. Right. I'm listening to the tipping point, and I rewind chapters and listen to them 5 or 6 times consecutively to let certain concepts sink in of the importance of micro distinctions. Last night's call was the best call we've done yet about understanding the power of ecosystem, what an ecosystem is, what merging ecosystems are, right, and what they're not. And we had some beautiful breakthroughs with Deepak. And Deepak, if you don't mind coming on right now, let's get Deepak unmuted if anybody's muted, and sharing that critical distinction. Because to understand why, and here's the key, to understand why you want to do Real Raw Opens consistently and why people want to come on them. If you don't understand what Deepak is about to share, then you cannot understand the value for you and the value for them. Okay, so that's the macro, like we're about to touch on it. What is an ecosystem merger? Because what Real Raw Opens are about ecosystem merging. Deepak, what was the distinction that you picked up last night that you didn't quite have yet?
The big distinction was like, what's the difference between having a sales meeting one-on-one versus it being a real ecosystem merger, right? So if Peter and I have a conversation over the phone, that could be a sales meeting. It could be just a catch-up call. But for it to be an ecosystem merger, it needs to be me bringing a group of people that so me bringing a group of people, Peter having a group of people, and us merging those two groups of people so that we can cross-serve each other. And it's not a one-time engagement. Like ideally, you want it to be consistent over time, right? So Peter has a group, I have a group. Let's merge those ecosystems and like let's schedule it over the next 12 months, every single month. Like that's the ideal scenario of what an ecosystem merger should look like.
Yeah. And so just stay with me, Deepak. And Peter, I'd like you to jump back in a moment, if you don't mind. So what happens to most attempts at an ecosystem merger? So Peter now has 200 new people that have his unique identity has been substantially increased in their mind, meaning they see their future in Peter in a new and additional way. He's congruently unique. They're more curious, and they see the potential for their future in him in a new and additional way. Right? That's what just happened. So Peter now has 200, he mentioned a few minutes ago, new potential relationships. He's one guy. What in the name of God do you do with all that? Like, what's the container? What's the incubation process to have some of those people be clients, but some of them are incredible ecosystem merger possibilities for Peter. So what do you do with it? What do you do when you're at an event? What do you do when you go to a beefsteak dinner for the bar association? What do you do when you go to your BNI meeting? Like, what do you do to incubate and accelerate relationships? And we discussed last night that the Real Raw and, Real Raw Open is a way for you to sift through and see if there's fits, like, right, initially, and have people become curious about you, which is a stage and a microphone is how people become curious about you. It's what Peter just experienced massively, right? So the Real Raw is that same thing. But once you have that, then the question, and you have the connection, things are happening, right? People are curious. Then what do you do with them? Well, one thing is you have them back on a Real Raw again. Maybe you connect and collaborate and do Real Raws with them. And or you add them to your 10 by 10, like part of your 10, part of your 100, because once you've decided that an ecosystem merger potentially makes real sense, the 10 by 10 is a mechanism to continue to incubate the relationship. Then when it actually is the creation of something, then that something becomes a speaking engagement or some other joint value-adding attempt. It could be email blast, it could be a podcast, but something that you end up doing with them. So for example, Deepak, right? So Deepak could say to Peter, hey Peter, listen, that's a lot of people. And yeah, like, let me help you. And if any of these people, like, let's do a webinar, let's do Real Opens together. Let's do something. And I have this service, see what you think of it. And if people sign up for it, then you would get this percentage. And if nobody signs up, nothing happens. And I'm willing to invest time and energy into helping you organize this group of people and plan and strategize. That's another way of saying what I'm saying to Peter about the Real Raw Open. Like, come on the Real Raw Open and there'll be value for you, right? So just does that land, Deepak, what I just said? In terms of a potential, there's always the potential for ecosystem merging by adding value to people, right? And that's a real thing. Like, it's not just like, hey, Peter, great job, let's talk. Okay, if there's ever any way I can help you out, just let me know. Like, that's not an ecosystem merger. That is a weak attempt at nothing. It's like, here's what my irresistible offer is as an ecosystem merger potential after talking, building rapport, connecting, figuring out people's needs, right? It's like, hey, I'd like to do this for you. A direct offer proposal. It's an agreement. Ecosystem merging equals a partnership of adding value to one another. Does that make sense, Deepak?
Yeah, I think it's all about intention, right? So it's like, hey, I want to be direct and say, Peter, send me your Calendly link. Let's get it on.
Yeah. Yes. Like, and Peter, are you there, Peter, still?
Yep.
Okay. So now,
Hey, Sean,
right?
just want to give
now
you
let's talk about Real Raw Open for a second.
We're getting to the top of the hour, but back to you.
Yeah. Okay. And we're gonna go about 5 or 6 more minutes. So Peter, and we're talking to everybody right now, everybody in this conversation. Okay. And what we're talking about, right? And we're going to use the word monetizing, but monetizing is not a bad word. I once thought monetizing was a bad word. And if anybody just came out of business mastery, there's an extraordinary amount of monetizing going on there. Peter, do you agree that Tony Robbins knows how to monetize his fan and audience base? Yes or no?
Yeah, yes. Just yes.
And by the way, I mean, what I mean by monetizing, right? The word monetizing, let's define it, is adding value and receiving value. And integrous monetizing means adding more value than you receive. So let me say it this way. Do you think Tony Robbins knows how to integrously monetize?
Yes. I'll explain my hesitation, and I shouldn't have done it. What I meant, I have a bugbear because I come from a digital background. As currently the monetization principles they're applying, they're using their real world event principles. So for example, the J. Abraham upsell last night was at the very end of the J. Abraham content, which meant that 35% of their audience were already gone to bed and gone to sleep because they're in England, Europe, and Australia. When you've got everybody in the same building, add value, add value, add value, add value, here's our offer, is absolutely the right way to do that. When you're in a digital space where everybody's uncontrollable, you need a slightly more finessed approach using pre-emails, post-emails, etc. So I should have just said yes, Sean, I apologize. They haven't yet figured out how they fully convert their absolute preeminent excellence in doing it in a real world space into a virtual space, but that's a very harsh criticism when they've only done 2 of them. So I guess my answer is yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I meant was that right. So what Peter's saying is they could do even more of it,
right,
but they do an incredible job of it, right, to begin with. And so what you're helping people do through the Real Raw is you're helping monetize. You're helping them, the people you're inviting, monetize their relationship capital, their wisdom, their energy, and their actions. Because most people have no idea how to do it. They don't have any idea of any of the things we're talking about here, most people. But they're successful anyway. But they have no idea what's even occurring here. They are blind. They're unconscious. So that's what's occurring for people as this progresses. You know, we had on the Real Raw today, Teresa had a beautiful soul on, this is all public, who's like, you know, I only have 14 agents. Like, her influence mastery skill sets were suboptimal. She was traumatically in her head, and a clearly hardworking, good person. Like, with 5 micro distinctions, her entire economic trajectory, however successful it is or isn't right now, changes forever. And I'm not saying that happens just for one Real Raw Open, but it's the beginning, right? And here's what also happens if you are running the Real Raw Open. So Peter, right? I'm going to give you a choice A and a choice B, okay? Choice A is you by yourself have meetings 2 at a time or 10 at a time with the 200 people that you connected with the Business Mastery. 2 at a time, 10 at a time, your pick. 2, 5, 6, 8, 10, whatever, okay? By yourself, okay? Or, and your only intention is how you integrously monetize the relationship, either by them being a client of yours or an ecosystem merger partner. So the game is it A or B? And how close is it or isn't it? Is it A or B for ecosystem, for you to integrally monetize at the highest level the 200 new relationships, new meaning even ones you knew before that have been upgraded substantially by winning Business Mastery, right? To integrally monetize that specific ecosystem through ecosystem mergers of yours and sales of yours, right? Is it better, A, to meet these people, talk to them on a podcast, on something that you do just with them, right? Including taking them to lunch? Or is it better if you come on a Real Raw Open and you're on it, I'm on it, and we're having fun, and we are mutually, integrally edifying each other. And all these people are coming on and having a very unique experience, and they are opening themselves up vulnerably and learning throughout the entire process, getting feedback. That's B. A is just you. Which is better for you to monetize, integrally monetize?
Do you want a straight answer or my thoughts as to why as well?
Straight answer.
B.
Okay, and why, please?
Because B serves multiple jobs for me at the same time. It has a filtration process built in. So instead of now doing 10 hours worth of calls with 10 people and finding out that 7 of those people, we're not aligned, they don't have the budget, we don't agree on our heart and mission, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I've taken care of that entire thing in a 2-hour stretch, number one. Number two, the value between the 3 people that are left and I is infinitely higher because I've had your edification as to my brilliance, so I don't have to sell to them anymore. And I've just reinforced, Tony Robbins just said I'm brilliant, and now Sean Callagher has said I'm brilliant. Is there much more you need to know for me to qualify myself for you to have a conversation with me? I don't really need to do anything. I can get straight to, let's talk about how we can work together. And C, when you're then, let's be frank, when we then do this call in front of 20, 30 beautiful individuals, you're asking me these questions. So I'm getting further edification because I'm serving more people up to the Unblinded community. So are those 10 people, the 7 that were of no value to me, and no value is a very harsh word, are still valuable to Unblinded, still valuable to this ecosystem. So the 7 that I couldn't do anything with for time, experience, fit, whatever, have still served me, and I still served them. And that's the really important bit. So I can't see any lose to it, because I've got 10 hours and I have to do a full proper X step blah sales process, or I've got 2 hours and I've got a more efficient result, and the people that I haven't done business with, I've still got value from and given value to, and given value to you, which is then, if there's integrity, which here there is eventually given back to me again as well.
Yeah, great job, brother. And for everybody, that's what the conversation sounds like as soon as humanly possible for you when you're communicating and explaining to people why they want to come on the show. Right? That's why they want to come on the show. Because, and it's not one reason, it's 10 reasons, right? They are going to learn what we're talking about. But on the surface, they're also going to get to meet people that they can and want to do business with. And here's my final and numerous other reasons, right? All of which, okay, well, 2 more things. One, you're going to have, we are unleashing the 1.0 version of how people get prepped to come on the Real Raw, right? That's what Fernando was mentioning. And next week, we will be releasing, well, let's go 2 weeks. I'm hopeful next week, but certainly 2 weeks. We'll be releasing the marketing relational assets for what you send to people. I'm like, well, what is this thing that you have written and video? And I am intimately involved with the creation of all of this, right? And we've been going completely intensely crazy. This is what my weekends are at this juncture, okay? Substantially. In addition, here's the final point. This is the flag in the ground, lightning bolt disruption to wrap up today, which was extraordinary. Thank you, Dr. Michelle Gamble. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Deepak. Amazing. Thank you, Fernando, of course, and Adam. Here's the final flag in the ground. Okay? The final flag in the ground is this. If Teresa said something earlier that was like it hit me, it's like, yeah, the people are never going to do that. If people are not going to fill out the link, right? And I'm gonna say this with like Zeus emphasis, and of course the delivery of this message is different, but this is the mindset. Then they don't belong on your Real Raw. people you're looking for, you're not chasing anybody. These are people who are going to have the unique privilege to do business with you and will give you the unique privilege of their time. Chase nobody. We were saying that a while ago in the accelerator. Chase nobody. That local family law attorney doesn't want to come on? Great. Replace him or her before the sentence is done coming out of their mouth. Everybody, including me, respectfully including you, in every way, in every situation, is replaceable. Right? Everybody. Tony Robbins was sick at Date with Destiny. It still went on and was amazing. Every Oprah is replaceable. Everybody is replaceable. The Chicago Bulls went to the NBA championship, right, with the departure of Michael Jordan and not years to rebuild. Everybody is replaceable. Chase nobody. So in your communication, if there's like chase energy, and often the only reason there's chase energy is because you didn't time block early enough to make this an insane success. Your Real Raw Open, you should be turning people away if you start early enough and have the conversations optimally. Don't wait. If your Real Raw Open is in late September, fill it next week. And then start saying, I'm going to fill 2 or 4 in October. I cannot emphasize enough. I know what's going to happen. There's a whole bunch of beautiful and amazing people on this line. If 80-20 applies and the Pareto principle applies to everything, then there's going to be 20% of you, I'll even go better, like 5% of you that are going to end up dominantly benefiting from Real Raw and Real Raw Open. Please, let's not have that be a reality. Every single person here, everybody listening in wants to make more money. I know that for a fact. Everybody. Integriously by adding value. Time blocking, being an integrous, loving of people, but integrous, non-attachment, also known as scarcity. Fill these up, build these ecosystems, understand the math of marketing, and do not let any Real Raw or Real Raw Open or Real Raw Open that you're running occur without 10 optimal avatars for you to do business with and for people to do business with each other. Peter is exempted from that because of that unique circumstance, and you would be too if there's a unique circumstance. But have it so that these people make sense to do business with each other. Fernando, final. I know we're over. Thank you all for your patience and time and investment and energy, but this is where it's at. We're here. It's like we are here, right? We can see the summit of Everest, right? Summit, not for like everything, but for your breakthrough of ecosystem mergers existing and momentum happening. Fernando, final.
Thank you all. Thank you, Sean. Truly, I love the mastery and acceleration that's present. Thank you for all of you who are busy, incredible human beings being here yet another hour here together with us, with Sean, with Adam, with myself, with everyone from Unblinded. It is incredible. Like the questions Joe Hagan is asking, the clarity that Nick is like being present to, the level of distinction in Teresa's clarification questions. It's exceptional. And as Sean has said, like the moment is here. The moment is here. We are entering momentum in the most beautiful way. The moment, the privileged window is now. Anyone who has been an early adopter and an early innovator would benefit greatly. And I stand for Sean being incorrect and that only being 5% of you. I stand for that number being wrong. And I don't bet against Sean very often. I'm going to bet against Sean on this one because there's too many of you that are too clear, that are freaking doing this, and we're doing this together. Like, I will not stand for 5. I will also not chase, but I'm standing for that number being triple, 4 times, if not 5 times that number. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Deepak. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Jason Sipple, for all your questions. I appreciate you all. And back to you, Sean, for final.
Yeah. Tomorrow night, I will answer any questions we didn't get to on the mastery call. And if there's anybody that's not a part of that call, we'll make sure that we get these answers out there on the huddle. Actually, let's do it this way. over the next, we'll see how many questions there are. And over the next 2 days of huddles, we'll make sure those answers go out and those huddles are recorded. So anything we didn't get to, we'll get to. We'll pick up with questions that were flowing from this tomorrow on the huddles. And of course, through our normal huddle activity, we want to make sure we answer everybody. And just to be super clear, I want to make sure we're aware that my hope and desire is that it's not 5%, but I will tell you this, and I believe it won't be, I hope, but I am concerned. Because in 1997, when I first wrote Awaken the Giant Within, I wrote to everybody I loved in the world, most. I wrote letters on an airplane coming back from a Jerry Spence seminar, right? And I read Awaken the Giant Within. It was in California. I read it, and I was writing to everybody about what it meant, the breakthroughs, what I saw, and this is when I was broke. And I said, come on this journey with me. Family, friends, people I loved. And nobody did. Now, maybe with my influence mastery, but I don't know. These people listen, I had great relationships with these folks. And these are conversations I've had many years after. And so this is a privileged time. And somebody said today that they really appreciate this. I'm going to keep emphasizing it. On the other side of your fear is everything you've ever dreamed of. On the other side of your fear. Have a beautiful day, and thank you so much for your investment of time and energy. Great job.